So I thought I would do a follow-up on my part 2 of the Vesicovaginal Fistula videos that I've been doing, because the last one was about some of the bad things that I have to deal with having a vesicovaginal fistula, and it's not something that's actually talked about a lot, because if you go onto the Google search you'll find lots of doctors talking about it and how to fix it, but not actually people who have this issue and how they deal with it, and the problems that they have. So I thought I'd do a follow-up because I did the video, and then it's like you think about things afterwards that you might have forgotten about and things like that, but there was quite a big thing that I forgot about really, and I should have talked about it, just didn't talk about it at the time. And that was talking about sex really, and how my problem affects my sex life. Basically I don't have a sex life at the moment at all, because I have I have no control over it. There's nothing I can actually physically do about it, but I do actually expel urine through my vagina, and this causes two problems. One, I can't even have an orgasm without actually wetting myself, because the contraction from the orgasm pushes the urine out through my vagina at a rate of knots, and so obviously orgasms equals wetness, which is not very pleasant. That's not to say I don't have orgasms, because I'm not a nun at the end of the day. I do have orgasms, but obviously I have to be prepared, like a commander going into battle. Have to have plastic sheeting and towels and things if I want to enjoy things like that, which is a bit of a thing really. It kind of doesn't really put you in the mood, does it? And also because I do wee through my vagina, which obviously I can't control. My husband obviously doesn't really want to have sex with somebody who's actually going to wee all over them, because he's not into water sports, bless him. I can't blame him at all really. He's very good in that he always makes sure that I know that he loves me, and that he's very affectionate and all the things that go with that, which is all very, very important. But the loss of intimacy, sexual intimacy should I say, is something that's affected us both quite badly, because obviously this has now been going on for quite some time, nearly 2 years. I mean, we're on what, so April, May, June, July, August, September, October, so yeah, 18 months. And before then I obviously had a lot of problems, because I was suffering really badly from fibroids, so I was literally constantly bleeding. So of course that also affected our sex life, and that went on for about 18 months. So the last 3 years for me and my husband has been absolute shit when it comes to sex life, because he's either having to deal with someone who's bleeding like a stuck pig, or he's having to deal with somebody that's literally leaking urine like a leaky tap. And it's like I said, when I orgasm, it's not a little amount, it's a lot. And even if I make sure I don't have fluids, I still leak everywhere. And so obviously that our sexual intimacy is just not happening at the moment. It just puts us both right off, puts him off, puts me off. I don't really want to have my husband being covered in my own pee. And on top of that, the acid from the urine constantly coming out of my vagina means that my vagina, the inside of my vagina, is actually really excruciatingly sore. So I don't particularly want anything up there at the moment. Just having my internal ultrasound was painful enough. It was very sore, it was horrible. So yeah, it's been one of the hardest parts about this, losing my sex life really. And obviously I am concerned that that if they don't fix things properly, that this is going to continue, because obviously I would like to have my sexual partner back really. I mean, he's my partner in every other sense, and it's like I said, he's fantastic in every other way. My husband is very big on words of affirmation. He's always telling me how lovely I am and how much he loves me and appreciates me, and he holds me all the time and we cuddle all the time. and you know, we do all, you know, lovey-dovey, and he's very lovey-dovey, so that I've absolutely no doubt in my mind how much he loves me and he's in love with me and all that. But the sexual side of it is something that I really, really, really miss. And you know, they always say, you know, what if your partner got ill and their penis fell off, or what if your partner got ill and could never have sex again, how would you deal with it? Well, obviously this is kind of a taster of it, really, isn't it, I suppose. And it is really fucking hard. It's so hard to lose that side. I mean, I have a very high sex drive anyway, and so, you know, I actually can sort of understand this whole blue balls thing with men, because sometimes I get so fruity, and you know, and not to be able to have sex with my husband is freaking horrible, and it turns me into a right grumpy cow, and it's no different for him, because he feels the same. I mean, yes, we can masturbate, etc., but it's just not anywhere near, you know. And obviously my masturbation turns into, like, you know, a flood of river peas, so it's not exactly a romantic starter. Hey darling, would you like to masturbate together, you know, as long as you don't mind the fact I'm going to pee everywhere. Do you know what I mean? You have to have a sense of humour about it sometimes, but it's not romantic in the slightest, is it? Yeah, so lack of intimacy is very difficult for both of us. You know, my husband said he misses me so much, and I miss him very much, and we miss having sex very much together. And obviously, having had the previous medical history before I had the hysterectomy, where I was bleeding all the time, that obviously affected our sex lives greatly, because I was bleeding like a stuck pig. And there was only some small moments where I wasn't, when I was on a lot of medication to try and stop bleeding, and sometimes even all the medication didn't stop bleeding, so I just felt like I constantly bled for 18 months. So and that's obviously something that is going to affect your sex life. So yeah, so that is probably one of the biggest things out of all this that has really affected us. I mean, we're very lucky that we're a very strong couple, because I don't know how couples would deal with it if they didn't have a very strong relationship. I'm very lucky that we do have a quite, you know, strong relationship, and that we have managed to get through this together. But obviously it's not going to be a quick fix, you know. Even when I have the operation, it's going to be, you know, a long recovery period, so it's not going to happen overnight that, you know, I'm going to be feeling 100% better, and it will be, you know, and my actual vagina has to recover as well, because, you know, it's not just a case of like fixing the bladder, they're going to be upsetting my vagina as well, and if they have to go in through my vagina to fix the hole, well, that's going to upset my vagina anyway, so that's again added recovery, isn't it? So, and I know I said vagina a lot, but unfortunately you can't blush or be silly about these things when you've got something like this, and it, you know, we've got to talk about it, really. I think if I had to list my top 3 things that I hate about this, I think the first one is the fact that I have no sex life. The second is constantly wetting through my clothing. I mean, it happened to me twice yesterday. I mean, I don't know what's going on with my bladder at the moment, but it's not always telling me when I need to go, because, you know, you get that feeling, that sensation, don't you, need to go, and it's not always saying, right, you need to go to the loo. So sometimes I just stand up and it just lets go of my whole bladder, and I get like these horrible like bladder spasm things going on, and I don't know why that happens. It's part of it apparently. You know, your bladder goes into spasm and it kind of just ejaculates the whole lot out in one go instead of coming out, and of course that creates like a flood effect, and obviously, you know, that's very noticeable. I mean, luckily yesterday it happened both times when I was at home. One time I was in my nightie, so it wasn't so terrible, because it sort of just kind of went down my legs. I mean, it was terrible, but, you know, it wasn't as bad as it could have been if I'd been outside, for example. And the second time I was in my jeans. I'd just come home and I just eat my tea, and I went to stand up to go and let the dogs out for a pee, and it happened, and I completely just flooded all my jeans, just really badly. So I would say that is probably the second most horrible thing, is constantly flooding through my clothing. And I think the third most horrible thing about having this is always feeling uncomfortable, wet all the time, and having, like, I always feel like I have a faint smell of pee. My husband keeps saying that I don't, I mean, I'm very hot on using, you know, baby wipes, cleaning, changing pads constantly. You know, I use deodorizer on my clothing to try and just help mask anything that might be there, because I'm so paranoid about it. And he swears blind that I don't smell of pee when I'm out and about, or if I'm at work. He can't smell anything when I leave, but I just, in my head, I'm so paranoid about it. I always think I can smell it, and it really does upset me that someone else might, even though he says nobody can. But I just have this horrible, like, what if someone can smell pee on me? And it just causes like a huge anxiety. So that anxiety really affects me socially in every way. So it affects me going out, it affects everything. I get really bad social anxiety because, one, I'm wondering if I'm going to actually piss myself in public, and two, are people going to think I smell like an old bag lady who stinks of urine, you know. So yeah, those are things, and it has affected me really badly. I mean, I just feel like a right grumpy cow at the moment. I'm always grumpy and miserable and pissed off, and I feel really angry all the time as well. And I still haven't sorted out the solicitor side of things, because I just like thought of it, having to sit there and write it all out. It's just like, ugh. So yeah, so really that's what's going on at the moment, and I'm constantly having UTIs all the time. It's just a nightmare really, and having to take antibiotics which make me feel sick. And then on top of everything at the moment, my fibro is really bad, so I think that's affecting it all as well. But yeah, so anyway, that's what's going on with it at the moment. I'm still waiting to hear from the friggin' surgeon, who's been back off holiday for nearly 2 weeks, and I still haven't heard anything. I suppose I need to be patient, but I'm not feeling very patient, because I just want them to sort it out. And I'm absolutely terrified about having surgery. I mean, I'm really terrified of having this surgery, because it's going to be a really big deal, and I am really scared about having it, because it's going to take bloody hours. And you know, the recovery could go either way. If they go laparoscopically, it might be better. If they can't go laparoscopically, it's going to be bloody horrible and painful. And the fact of being put under, everything's just scaring the bejesus out of me about the whole thing. So I'm really scared about it, but I'm so pissed off. I just wanted to piss and get on with it instead of making me hang all the time. Anyway, rant over about it, I suppose. Anyway, that's where I am so far. I haven't really got any further along, just some thoughts and feelings about the whole thing. And I'm sure that if you're going through this too, you're probably mirroring many of my feelings. It's just a bit shit, really. Anyway, I hope everyone's alright. Take care. Bye bye for now.